All right, let's go.
All right, what's happening? What's happening? Welcome to Black Focus Radio, the Thursday edition. Whew. Man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today.
It's gonna be a full day, baby.
Man,
It's gonna be a full day.
I'm gonna tell you like this: Little Rock has become ground zero for civil rights.
It's about to go down.
It's happening, dude. I'm just gonna tell you, man. But anyway, we'll get into all that in a moment. Let me welcome my co-host into the studio today, Robert Weld. Hey, Robert, how you doing, man?
What's up, my brother?
I'm doing all right. And of course, in with him today is Ryan Weld. Hey, Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Hey, look, I ain't scared because both of y'all in here. I'm just letting y'all know right now.
It's the web team,
You know,
baby.
that's
We got
all right.
Superpowers. You better be ready.
I know jujitsu
better be ready.
and hula loop. So mess with me if you want to.
You better be ready.
Okay?
Man.
And then if I go down, my family gonna come for you. You know?
They gonna hug us.
No, they not gonna hug
They
you.
gonna hug us.
Oh, they not gonna hug you.
You know
Yeah.
what? Hold on. I want to ask Ryan something real quick. So did you see the bailiff and the judge and the family hug Amber Geiger?
I did.
What'd you think about that?
I thought it was great that they hugged, that they forgave her. And I saw what Mr. David posted on his Facebook. If I ever get killed, do not forget my murderer. Do not forgive my murderer. And I was like, well, what's wrong with forgiveness? The forgiveness, it really isn't for Amber Geiger. That's the last name, Geiger. It's more so for himself and his family, and the judges for her too. So it's not for Amber; it's for themselves, their inner peace.
Okay. So let me say this to you right now, just so we're on the same page. If somebody kills me, the last thing I want y'all doing is hugging. That's the last thing.
There you go.
If you ain't avenging, don't be hugging.
There you go. Hey, we got a lot of stuff to talk about there. We'll get into that here in a moment. But, before we got to christen the show as we do every day with Black Facts. So let's get that started right now. Well, the Black Fact today is a little bit about explorers, okay? Black explorers. And I think, some of y'all are going to be celebrating Columbus Day. I want to take my hats off to the state of Maine, who has gotten rid of Columbus Day and calls it Indigenous Peoples Day. Many other states are doing that around the country. Columbus didn't discover America. America was already here with people. But I thought it was important for you all to get an idea of some of the other great black explorers that your history books doesn't talk about. Of course, one of my favorites of all time is Abu Bakari. Okay, Western scholars have, by and large, dismissed the assertion that Africans had contact with the Americas long before Columbus. But scholars such as Dr. Ivan van Sertima, where have you heard that name before? And Sheikh Anta Diop, where have you heard that name before? Rejected this in the books They Came Before Columbus, which is a fantastic book, and The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality. But they were not alone. Decades before, respected Harvard lecturer Leo Wiener, a Russian-born scholar and Polish-Jewish heritage who was a polyglot skilled in more than 20 languages, noted the African presence in his 1920 book, Africa and the Discovery of America. Around 2000, Malian historian Guso Diodari, author of Abu Bakari II, available in French, along with other African researchers, began to explore the history of Abu Bakari, who once ruled the Mali Empire in West Africa. and to proclaim him the main force behind the African arrival to the Americas prior to Columbia. Abu Bakari is said to be the son of Colacan, sister of Sundiata Keita. Well, I'm good with my African now, ain't I? The founding emperor of the Great Mali Empire in West Africa. In 1311, Abu Bakari abdicated his throne to Mansa Musa to pursue his belief that the Atlantic Ocean, similar to the River Niger, had another bank. Already, during his rule, Abu Bakari had funded a 200-boat expedition to find that bank. When only one ship returned, with the captain reporting that a current swept the rest of the fleet away, prompting him to turn back, Abu Bakari put together a 2,000-boat expedition he himself helmed. It was believed that Abu Bakari, who never returned home, landed at what is now Recife in Brazil, and that some of the previous boats landed throughout the Americas, including what is now Mexico, and even in Colorado. This is why Wiener and others before and after him note early remnants of African culture in the Americas, some of which Columbus found upon his arrival. The Nino brothers, Pedro Alonso and Francisco and Juan. Described as El Negro, navigator and explorer Pedro Alfonso Nino, son of a white Spaniard enslaved African woman, has long been acknowledged for accompanying Columbus on his first expedition to the Americas in 1492 as the pilot of the Santa Maria. Although Pedro is one of the most well-known of Columbus' crew members, he was not alone. His brothers Francisco, the youngest, and Juan, the oldest, were also part of the Columbus voyages. In their home of Mogur, Spain, they were prominent sailors with experience on the Atlantic voyages. Reportedly, Pedro even sailed to the West African coast. During the first Columbus voyage, Juan held the La Nina, which he also owned. Francisco was most likely a sailor on the La Nina. Juan Garrido, I should say. Born in Africa, Juan Garrido was enslaved in Portugal, but began his career in exploration in Seville, Spain, probably as a slave. Around 1502 or 1503, he landed in Santo Domingo. Later, Garrido was elevated to the status of conquistador and was with Ponce de Leon during his search for the Fountain of Youth in Florida in 1513. Garrido was also part of the Hernando Cortez led invasion of Mexico in 1519, which resulted in the conquest of the Aztecs. Later, he participated in expeditions in Mexico and in 1520 and traveled to islands around San Juan and Cuba as well. Garrido, who married and fathered 3 children, settled in Mexico City to secure land that, based on his service, should have automatically been his. He provided testimony of his exploits of his 30 years as a conquistador without pay in 1538. Today, he is also credited with harvesting the first commercial wheat crop in the Americas. And that's our Black Facts for today.
Into Black Focus Radio for more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people on JourneyRadio.com.
And by the way, if you want to sponsor Black Facts, you can do that as well. Just call me up at 615-554-0568. And that's how we do this thing. Black Facts, folks. You know, I love it when people hear the Black Facts and all of them say, hey, man, I'm glad you said that. I didn't know that. That's the biggest thrill for me doing Black Facts, is educating people who didn't know about our history. And especially this, as we head towards, as y'all head towards Columbus Day, just be aware that Columbus didn't discover America. You know, just be aware of that. By the way, many Africans were already here. If you go back and look at your geology, some of y'all probably didn't pay attention, that there only used to be 4 continents. Let me say that again. There only used to be 4 continents. When the tectonic plates began to shift That's what split the continents into 7. All of the continents were attached to, guess what? Africa. So doesn't it stand to reason that those people that were already in Africa and those continents were together, that they migrated to all parts of the world until the tectonic shifts took place? Yeah, it does. History, I love it. Anyway, hey y'all, how y'all doing?
You got that your sister yet?
Yeah, I've purged now.
Right.
I've purged now.
Cool.
Now let me warn you all, most of the people that are listening outside of the city, a lot of today's show, and rightfully so, is going to be about Little Rock. Okay? But don't get dismayed, because what's going on in Little Rock
Impacts the whole world.
is coming to a city near you soon. Okay?
Not already there.
If it's not already there. Okay? So we're going to talk a lot about Little Rock. Of course, if we get an opportunity, we're also going to talk about the new report that came out about the Laquan McDonald murder and how the police covered it up. You know, I know a lot of people want to believe that the police are so hunky-dory and they love y'all, but y'all better wake up. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
That's it.
Okay?
That's it.
And what you all have given the police in America is absolute power. Because when it gets to a point where a man can kill another man and not be held accountable for it, and then proof that he lied about that murder, and everybody still supports him, we got a problem in America.
It is what it is, brother.
So let me start with our city director, and hopefully he'll be able to call in and give us an update. So apparently, I believe it was yesterday, last night, Ken Richardson from Ward 2, a friend of the show, observed police handling a prospective suspect wrong. And all he was doing was observing, from what I understand in the reports. And the police accosted Director Richardson and said that he was interfering with government business, and ultimately arrested him.
So they didn't arrest him technically.
Well, they gave him a citation.
They detained him.
Well, they gave him a citation.
They detained him.
Okay? Detained him, arrested, either way, at the end of the day. And see, here's what when I saw that piece, and I tell you what, if we get a chance, I'm going to pull up, because Russ Raycott, he interviewed Ken last night, and I'll pull that out so we can hear it. But what bothers me, and when you tell me, we hear all the time across this country that police, when they run afoul, they're going to get more training. They're going to get more training. Well, it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt for quite some time now that citizens have the right to observe police, and citizens have the right to record police. So for that police officer to detain Director Richardson, and his argument was, you don't have the right to record me.
Well, he didn't say that. What he told him was, the guy in the car said he's taking pictures. And the officer did not have the forethought to say, well, by law, there's nothing we can do if he's taking pictures. We can't stop anybody from taking pictures, right? But he didn't do that. So when Director Richardson was walking up, the officer started walking toward him and said, hey, move on. And Director Richardson said, I am moving on. I'm walking, right? But the guy says, move on. And he confronts him, and they had this whole conversation. Pretty much boiled down to the fact that you just got a bunch of cowboy police officers who don't live in a state, don't live in the city. And I think it's important that if you're going to live in Little Rock, the least you should do is know who your city is.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, that's the least you can do. But again, the director broke no laws. The chief said they're still doing an investigation. But it's obvious to say they effed up. I mean, that's clear. This was a huge mistake, and I think that there's going to be huge ramifications from this incident.
And it should be.
Yeah.
In fact,
there will be.
Those guys need to be fired.
I don't think they're going to fire.
I don't think they will either, but they need to be fired, because here's why.
Well, one guy is scheduled for promotion today. It'd be interesting to see if he still gets the promotion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy who actually did it, Sullivan, I think. I think he's So we'll see if he still gets a promotion.
Well, here's why they should be
We'll
fired.
know by 5.
When a cop violates the Constitution.
Well, the thing is, Dave, we assume that these guys know the law, and they don't.
I don't care.
Clearly, they don't know the law.
I don't care. They are, what do we call them? Law enforcement,
Yeah,
right?
But to enforce the law, you first have to know the law.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. All right? You want to be a doctor?
You gotta go to school for it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and when you screw up as a doctor, you suffer the consequences.
Well, what I'd like to know.
You want to be a lawyer?
Yeah, you gotta go to law school.
Okay. When you screw up as a lawyer,
Yeah.
you got to suffer the consequences, right?
Well,
You want to be a judge?
Right, Dave.
Okay. You want to be a plumber?
Right, you gotta go to school.
Okay. So making excuses about these guys.
It's not really an excuse. This
Okay,
is
what
the
is it?
thing I'll say is that we make the assumption because they're police officers, they know the law, and they don't.
Well, we do.
They don't.
I'm just
we
saying-
we have to know our rights because they don't.
Right. But again, if you are called a law enforcement officer, then you have to know the law. That's why it's so
In a perfect world, yeah.
that's why it's so stupid that in 90 days I can be a cop.
Yeah.
When lawyers have to go to school for years in order to be lawyers. So how the hell are you a law enforcement officer when you don't know the law? And in this particular case though, Robert, it's been echoed over and over and over again that citizens have the right to observe police.
Well-
And they have the right to film police. In fact, it has been ruled in the Supreme Court. So in this particular instance, there's no excuse for
There
this,
is
in
no
my
excuse,
opinion.
But it shows the lack of. I think it shows the quality of officer we're hiring. We're
True.
not hiring quality officers. But again, this is not the first time this has happened to Director Richardson. We got to remember this also happened to State Representative
John Walker. Yep.
Director Richardson was in an elevator wearing a Little Rock police officer's T-shirt, and he had a confrontation with a Little Rock police officer who asked him where did he get that shirt from, because I guess black men can't wear Little Rock Police Department shirts. And Director Richardson had to almost call the police. The second occasion is we had a double murder homicide, a murder suicide on I want to say it's 24th. I don't remember what street it was now. Director Richardson went to the scene just to kind of keep everything just trying to keep everything down, keep everything cool because nobody knew what had happened. And the police said that Director Richardson was walking around flashing a badge and doing all kinds of stuff, which is untrue. But again, it goes back to the police. It goes back. That's when Buckner was here. So it goes back to we have a serious problem in our police department because everybody wants to talk about we should be supportive of the police, but how can I support people who abuse me and oppress me? How can I support them? I can't be supportive of that. And I think this was a great indication. There must be some change within our police department. Significant change.
No doubt about it. I was actually going to play a piece from KARK, but I'm not giving him no credit for this. I'm going to play. Let's listen to. I believe this is the one from Russ Raycott. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Where were you standing? Okay, so the police car is probably 25, 30 feet over there, and you weren't trying to interfere with their business. He was telling you were too close.
I can't film or videotape what I wasn't doing. And he said that the suspect told him I was doing it. I said, no, I wasn't doing it.
Well, you know that you have the right. I'm going to tell this for our viewers, that you have the right in public to record public citizens. Well, how did it make you feel when he had you handcuffed in that car for about an hour?
Really angry because I've been pushing and I agree with you for the relatives in the department. I don't think I hate to think what happened to the young man who didn't have to see the person.
Yes, because I'm going to say you're dressed in a suspicious manner.
Except for validating each other, just left there. That was good for me. And I watched, and I was coming around and I saw it. The suspect, so I just stopped. He kept telling me, you can't stop. You can't take the he told me to look at the suspect. He didn't say he saw me do that. He said the suspect.
and I'm not going to zoom in too much on Ken's car, but Ken has a car that actually looks like a police vehicle, and on the back of it, he has got a well-known sticker that all city directors have on the back of their vehicle. Police cars? Now, was the officer
Sullivan working in the car.
Sullivan?
Sullivan, his last number is 1013, and then
He was a white officer. And they gave you a citation?
All I did was stay like this. I was talking to you,
Well, you know,
all the time.
and I know that you see the videos that I do because I did one 2 nights ago, I think, where I stopped about the same distance.
And look, observe that I'm not doing the job that people make me do. People complain to me all the time. Unfortunately, I think it shows this to me. If you talk about it, I talk about it, a lot of people talk about it. People will not from this community and how you will respect this. I had a conversation with the fire chief today, we were talking about very exact things. Not that I expect you to be different, but those officers don't do it. They have no idea. Not that I expect you to be different, because anybody can do it. Anybody can do
And I do it daily, folks. Y'all know that.
walking up on me, saying, what do you want to stop? You can't do it. I don't know. You can walk, you got to walk. So it can be just this whole level of disrespect, this whole level of privilege, supremacy. I don't know how to count it.
Well, again, what it is, it's a mercenary force that comes into Little Rock to patrol and control, and they view people like yourself and myself as enemy combatants.
The same thing with John Walker. Think about it. John Walker, he was videotaping, and that was based on a bill that he sponsored. He was state representative, long-term civil rights activist. Also knew he was a bill. So imagine I'm in handcuffs, I got people who saw a couple of people.
Oh, yeah.
I said, everything okay? One of them was a police officer. He was upset.
Right, and I saw that, folks. I'm not going to identify him, but he was visibly shaken.
We were shaking his spirit. He was visibly shaken. He was getting angry and upset. But when I told him about what the citation was doing, he shorted him. He got even more upset. He was angry. Now, to me, it's insane.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, and if these charges stick and you have a court appearance, we'll put the date out there and we want everybody to pack that district court office in support of Director Richardson and what he does for the community. Well, I hope you have to appear. Not that that's bad, but I'm saying, and if it can happen to a city director,
And what you were hearing, ladies and gentlemen, was, and Russ Raycop, man, you've been on your job lately, dude.
Been on it, man.
Russ, you've been getting down, bro. But Russ Raycop was filming Director Richardson after the incident, and I will give Russ a few interviewing tips, but you know, let the interviewee talk, okay?
No, you didn't say that. No, you didn't say that.
Be quiet, Robert. Okay. But Russ is Russ is getting down. Really appreciate what he's doing. But again, if they'll do it to a city director, they'll do it to anybody.
Hey man, we've been saying this for years.
Exactly.
If they treat a guy, because originally when this happened in the elevator in the tower building, I made the comment, I've been making it ever since. If they treat that brother like that in the tower building in an elevator, I hate to think about how he treated brother on 22nd.
Exactly.
22nd Ball, 22nd Mark, 22nd Adams, on 36 in Dorchester. I mean, dude, these guys have lost it, man.
Oh, no doubt about it.
But this will not go. This will not go.
Well, here is what I would like people to do. I'm a nobody, but Tuesday night.
Well, not this Tuesday, because this Tuesday's an agenda meeting.
Okay.
It'll be the next.
Next Tuesday. Let me get the date.
Well, don't do that yet, Dave. Hold that for a second. Hold that for a second. Don't do that quite yet. Don't do that quite yet.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Is there something in?
No, can't say anything. Just don't do that.
Oh.
Just hold tight. Just hold tight, brother.
All right. So we'll see what's gonna happen, but trust me.
First
There-
thing we want to see if the guy gets promoted today.
Okay.
That's most important. If he
Okay.
gets promoted today, yeah,
There should be a response.
there's going to be a great response.
Okay.
You just sit tight.
Okay.
Sit tight, like.
Yeah, you know, I ain't trying to
Sit
do
tight,
nothing.
like, man.
I ain't trying to agitate.
It's gonna be good, dog.
Well, I was appalled when I saw that. I was.
Well, I wasn't appalled. I mean, unfortunately, I'm kind of numb to it. I've seen it so often. It's been done to me, and I've seen it far too much, right?
Well, you can't get numb to it.
So I'm kind of numb to it.
You can't get numb to
Unfortunately,
it.
man, I am kind of.
Fortunately, Ken said, hey, it ticked him off. So that means he's not numb to it.
Well, you're not numb to it when it happens to you. You're numb to it when it happens to somebody else because you've seen it so much. You kind of get numb to it. I mean, you see it enough that becomes numbing.
Man, that's just crazy. Russ, I just gave you a shout out. Russ on the Facebook feed. So keep up the great work, man. I know you crazy and an agitator, but these are the types of people that we need in this city because this city is went to hell in a handbasket. It really has.
It ain't even. We ain't even halfway there yet, brother. It's just this thing just getting crunk.
And if we don't get our arms around this police department, we're going to be in a lot of trouble here. Because as we've all said, a mercenary police force has no business taking tax dollars money and taking that money to other communities. And the only way it looks that we're going to be able to solve this problem is that we've got to go after these at-large directors. We've got to go after them. And what I mean by that is that we've got to get credible people who can run against them.
You should have Russ call in, man. He talked to the chief with some other folks. You should have him call.
Oh, Russ, call the show.
Yeah, have Russ call.
Okay? Call the show. You know the number, 855-525-5683. Okay? But we've got to get credible people who will run against these at-large directors, and we've got to throw tons and tons of money at them.
That's it.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is how, because see, the at-large directors are the ones who are blocking this residency. Okay?
Well, it's not just the.
I know, but see what she is, she's the tail. She's just following the dogs.
So you said she just followed.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
The tail that wags the dog.
No, she's not the tail that's wagging the dog.
Okay.
The dog is wagging her. You understand what I'm saying? So once she see that her support is gone, where she can run behind them, she will fall in line or she needs to be voted out. Okay? In fact, we need to go after her too. So what we ought to be doing, when is the next election? The 2020?
Yeah. And don't forget, Russ is running Russ is going to run against John. So.
Good. So we need to throw as much as we can behind these people who are running against people who don't want to support Little Rock. Because this is crazy, man. What if that, Rozelle, prior to his show, Rozelle came in here fire hot this morning. I mean, he had tears, and I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating. He had tears in his eyes. He was, Rozelle is a little high yellow guy anyway, but he was fire red. He looked like a matchstick.
He was 38 hot.
Man, and come to find out, a block away from him, from this station, he witnessed 3 police officers, 2 white cops and a black female cop, literally beating up a homeless black woman. from what he could tell. He didn't know the details, but according to him, they threw her in the car and nearly slammed the door on her leg. It was crazy. I mean, Rizal can get fired. He can get hot.
Yeah, he get hot.
But this morning, I said, dude, you all right?
Is he hot?
Man, so...
Well, I mean, I'm glad that everybody's becoming more conscious of what's happening with our police in Little Rock, because it's important.
Again, we've got people listening from Philadelphia, Los Angeles, New Jersey. I apologize. We like to have a national show, but there are so many things that are going on in the community here in Little Rock that affects you that we needed to talk about those things this morning. Right now on the line, we've got the agitator-in-chief, Russ Raycop. Hey, Russ, how you doing, man?
In defense of my interview skills, I was live streaming and let Ken tell the whole story, and apparently I had network connectivity issues when I thought it was going out and it wasn't. So what you saw was just a straight video recording kind of following up with some extra material, but when I realized I didn't have the other, that was all I had. So.
Well, you did a good job, no doubt about that, and Well, you did a great job, and no doubt about. And again, we appreciate you being on the task out there, man, because that's stuff that the city needs to know.
Well, and I want to say something here, and I want to use your platform to help spread this stuff. We've got some FOP cronies out there saying that Ken Richardson and I hate the police department. Well, that's not the case. Director Richardson, he got it. When they built that 12th Street station over there, they only had $2 million to build it. I think he got an extra $4 million, maybe $10 million for that building. And while we've been vocal about these mercenary out-of-town officers that comprise our force, the incident he had with them last night were mercenary officers. And they're from that Northwest substation, those self-entitled hard chargers. And, the stuff that Rick Richardson doing, he didn't use any appropriate language. He was 30 or 40 feet away. And they violated his life. And I'm going to tell you, I do that just about every day. If I see a police officer, I go through the film. I've live streamed some stuff this week, and I've never had them come over to me and tell me I can't record. Now, is that because I'm white? Who might be? I don't know. But, if they'll treat our student leaders like that, and handcuff them and put them in a police car for 30, 40 minutes, that's a sad state of affairs. And while all this is happening, Chief Humphrey was at a white church that stolen his officers. He was praising them and carrying on while all this was happening. And from witnesses at the scene that I spoke to, apparently he started getting messages and stuff because there was a lot of commotion, like something was going on. And there was some wrongdoing by one of these mercenary officers.
Well, Russ, again, what we saw last night is typical, and it really annoys me, particularly the FOP, because see, the FOP and cops around this country believe that they have the right to violate anybody because they're cops, and anyone who stands up against them or exposes them, they immediately want to label you as you are anti-police. I'm not anti-police. I have relatives that are on the LRPD right now. I have friends who are on the Memphis Police Department and the Nashville Police Department. I have friends that are police. I simply want police, as do many other citizens, to do their jobs and do them correctly and not harass people. And this is what they've been doing. And see, I think Rizal on his show earlier made an excellent point. This has been going on for decades. What has happened is technology has caught up with the lies of police officers. You can't hide from this technology now. And no matter how you try to explain it away, no matter how you try to say, well, you didn't see the other part before the video started, My eyes are not lying to me. And there's a problem with policing in this country, and there's a problem with policing in Little Rock. And if the American citizens and Little Rock proper doesn't get their arms around this soon, it's going to get worse.
Hey, Russ, quick question, Russ.
And I urge Chief Humphrey to release a critical incident video of this. I don't think there's going to be any good NPR footage, but there will be audio footage that'll show exactly what that officer said. And I think if there's ever a time for a critical incident video, this is one.
Yeah. Russ, quick question, Russ.
Yes, sir.
I know you had conversations with the chief. Can you share a little bit about how that conversation went?
Yeah, in fact, he had called Director Richardson right after I finished reporting. And while he was on the phone with Director Richardson, I sent him a text message and said, hey, you got any comments about what happened tonight with Director Richardson? And, probably within the hour, he called me and expressed concern, said that they were starting an internal investigation, that he had spoken with Director Richardson, and spoken with the mayor, and that it was clear that he citizens have the right to record the police, take photos of the police, and he expressed some concern and apology for what had happened to Director Richardson. I asked him about the citation, and if the category off, he said, well, it was in the early days, and maybe we're looking into that as part of it.
Okay. So I guess we just sit back and wait. Did he speak to you and did he speak to you at all about Sullivan's promotion? Are we still waiting to see what happens with that?
Yes, I mentioned to him, I said, man, sounds like you have some issues up there because we had an incident a couple of weeks ago where a black female had a white male officer raise her shirt up.
Right.
And we had, there was an incident with Don Jeffrey again, and then we had this incident last night. And, I mentioned that Sullivan had kind of a lengthy disciplinary history, but it didn't get into anything about the promotion. But from what I understand, he's supposed to be promoted maybe to a sergeant today.
Okay. So we'll just wait and see what happens with that one.
Yeah, if that means they just have a take on car to drive to and from.
To and from, yeah.
By the way, Russell, you know where this guy is from? Where he lives?
Maumelle.
Really? Who's his father?
I don't know, but I posted it on that link last night. I don't have that up in front of me, but they look exactly the same. They both have the middle name Wiley. And they both live in Maumelle, not in the country.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
All right, Mr. Ray Cobb. You keep up the great work, man. The city of Little Rock appreciates you, man.
Maybe media sources out there that cover the stories in depth as you guys do. And we're blessed to have you all out there.
Oh, by the way, Russ, just quickly before you go, tell us what's going on with you and Channel 4.
Well, Michelle Turner, I'm probably a little different than a lot of other media folks. I have some favorites in the media that I find out some breaking news. I try to share proofs with them so they can get coverage too. And I provided it to her, and then when I'd gone on, and then like here's we broke the story, here's the video, they blocked me from posting them. And so actually Michelle reached out to me last night. She called me just midnight, just texted me, called me, and just apologized and said she was going to check with her visual media and hope that we could work together. And say nothing that you've done, we're going to keep our professional relationship. That's just it's kind of crazy because I've had a working relationship with Channel 4 since Channel North. So we'll see what happens.
See, that's what you get for being a troublemaker, Mr. Ray Cobb.
Somebody's got to do it.
And you're doing it very well, sir. And thanks again as well. All right, bye-bye. That's Russ Raycobb, the troublemaker in chief, along with his buddy Robert Webb and Rozelle Aaron and all you guys.
David Coleman.
Look, I'm a nice guy, okay?
David Coleman.
I'm a nice guy. We got another caller. Caller, what's your name and what you want to talk about? Hello? No, I don't know. But anyway, so Russ is doing a great job, and again, as we talked about it earlier, the key right now, I think, is attacking these offices.
Well, I wouldn't use the word attack, but
I
think
I use that word.
Yeah.
Don't try to change my adjective.
I think we should start it. I think it's important now that there's a couple of things we start to address. And, I'm going to be very clear because I don't want anybody to get confused on what I'm about to say.
You're always pretty clear, Robert.
I want to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we have to address is their training because this is a training matter. And I think one of the things that we do is we get a group of people who go through the police training.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
How long has the Supreme Court been saying that you can film and observe officers?
Well, that's not the point, David. I'm talking about the interaction with black folks, period.
Okay.
I firmly believe that's a training issue.
So when you have already did that, considering what's been going on around the country, if you are a police chief or a city, considering what has been going on around the country for decades, but it's certainly within the last 5 to 6 years, wouldn't you have already had that training?
You know what? I would think so, but it's obvious that they haven't. Thinking about what Rozelle saw today, what happened with Director Richardson last night, what's happened with Don Jeffries in the past, it's obvious, and what's happening around our city every day, it's obvious that these things aren't taken very well. So if we want to get a better police department, the thing that we go after, we don't go after anything else, we address the training of the police officers, right? Because that's first and foremost. Because again, their interaction, the skills that they display on the streets are taught to them at the academy. So that's where we fix the problem. Supposedly, that's where we fix the problem.
But remember the video we had, keeping in that vein.
Okay.
Remember, and I think you were here that day where we talked about. I played the video of the cops. I forgot what city it was who had went through this quote unquote sensitivity training,
Right.
and they all came out saying that this was the worst training that they had ever seen. Not because they didn't want to do it. They were referring to the content of the training.
Yeah.
So, who's doing this training, and how do we make sure that the trainers are giving credible information and valuable information to these officers?
Right. Well, Chief, we have myself, Russ, Ian, and myself. We have quarterly meetings with the new chief, with Chief Humphrey.
Oh, really?
Doing those quarterly.
Oh, so y'all don't invite me to your
Well,
quarterly
it's-
meetings,
it's
do
not-
you? Does he take you out to dinner too?
No, it's not a thing you invite people to. But
Oh, I'm not good enough to come to your little funky meeting. Is that what it is, Mr. Webb? Huh? Well, forget you then, man. Go ahead.
okay, thanks. During the quarterly meetings, Chief made mention that they were doing 21st century training, and what that is they're moving away from the warrior training to the guardian training.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, it's obvious that these guys didn't get the guardian training. They got the warrior training.
Those are the grunts on the front line. They didn't go to the training, right?
Well, they went to the training because that's the whole process. What we want to do is we want to get some Low Rock residents to go through this police training, and we want to critique it and say, okay, we think this is problematic.
Good idea.
That's important because
I want to do that.
those are going to be part of our requirements for what's happening.
Will
What's
you
happening.
nominate me?
Sure. Yeah. But
What has he said about getting people to go through that training, as far as okaying that?
we haven't had that conversation yet.
Oh, okay.
We haven't had that conversation, but there are going to be several things that we're going to talk about. One most importantly is taking a group of residents through the police training because that's important. We want to see is there any biases.
We're talking about the sensitivity training now.
No, we're talking about the police training itself.
Okay.
whole process.
But I wanna hear.
Well, the sensitivity training is a little bit different. That's something they contract out for. That's not something that's taught in the police academy.
I
That's something they
understand.
contracted out.
So, but again, it needs to be audited as well.
Well,
And here's
we
why.
already know it's crap. So
Well-
there's no need to audit it.
Okay, so but the point is, if it's crap, why are in our case why are they
because-
using our tax dollars
Be-
to train something that's crap?
Because they have to. Because we make requirements of our police departments that they have to have sensitivity training for the police officers.
But we need to make sure that that training is credible. It is not something that somebody has cobbled together.
Nobody gives a crap if it's credible, Dave. The
But-
only thing they want them to do is meet the requirement, and by them getting training, they've met the requirement.
Well, you're saying nobody, as in the police department,
Or the
but-
city board.
Well, the city, but the citizens need to know what is being taught. If you're gonna take me through training about policing, then I want the whole gamut. I want that sensitivity training too, because if you're telling me that you're giving your officer sensitivity training, and we hear what's going on a regular basis,
Right.
somebody ain't getting sensitive.
Well, I don't disagree, but again, when it comes to this training, I don't think the issue is sensitivity.
Oh, I don't either.
I think the issue that we find here is in the training of the police officers in the academy, because that's where you're taught to interact with people. Now, if you identify that people don't interact well with others, then it is obvious they should not be on our streets. So the question now becomes, and again, I think Russ made a great point. So Sullivan's father is also a police officer. That's why these guys fight the residency requirement so hard, because then you can't get your sons on, you can't get your grandsons on, you can't get your nephews and your cousins and whoever else, because then you can't get your people on. So that's why they fight so hard against the residency requirement. And I think people should understand that people who live outside of our city are pretty much
Mercenaries.
mercenaries, but they're also hoarding jobs.
Yeah.
And that's how you keep black folks out, is if you hoard jobs. So you hoard jobs where black folks might want to get their sons in, and it's not always guaranteed that their sons get in.
Well, and I think about the cost to the city as far as payroll, as far as the expense on cars, take-home cars, the gas, all of those things. In a city where budgetary issues are tight, we need to be able to address everything that's affecting the budget. And we've seen over and over again the millions of dollars that are being spent just on car maintenance and gas for officers to travel from Bryant and Benton and Lone Oak and Cabot and Maumelle or Conway or whatever the case may be, Malvern, Russellville, whatever the case may be.
Greenwood.
You know, that adds up. You know.
Well, yeah. There are a lot of things that adds up when you start taking a deep dive into the police department. There's a lot of things that add up. I mean, we pay for uniforms. I mean, the city pays for their uniforms. About $2.3 million a year that we spend for their uniforms. That's in addition to everything else we do. Besides giving them a salary. That's why I get so angry when people start saying, well, we should pay them to live here. Hell, we paying them enough. Why should we pay them more to live here? They're being paid to work. They've been paid to work a job. I don't have to pay them to live here too. So now everybody's talking about giving police incentives, $5,000 and all this kind of stuff. What bothers me about that is that here we are now. We're giving guys incentives if they stay on the police department. Well, I take that back. They give out longevity raises. So the police department gives out longevity raises. Those longevity raises equal up to be $2.3 million per year.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And again,
But all these things we pay for, right? We pay for all this. And at the end of the day, we pay for our abuse. We pay to be oppressed.
ain't that something?
Yeah, we're paying for it.
The only way to solve this problem, and I'm going to use my adjective again, is that we have got to attack these offices with our votes. We've got to do that. We've got to attack that city board. We've got to attack those at-large positions. We've got to attack state legislators. Everything that has a vote, we have to attack it. And I use that adjective purposely because right now all of this has been able to fester because a lot of us have been complacent. The only way we're going to solve this problem, folks, is that we've got to start getting people, hopefully, in those positions that are going to at least be impartial and not favor one entity over another. This is the only way we can solve this problem. I mean, I look at what the mayor in Chicago is doing, Lori Lightfoot. She's turned that police department on its ear. That was her campaign promise. It was her who released these. If you haven't seen these latest documents about the Laquan McDonald murder and how these police covered it up, I advise all of you who are listening, go to the Chicago Sun-Times and read what they are saying, what these cops did. This is not just happening in Chicago.
No,
it's happening all over the country, and we as citizens have got to get more Lori Lightfoots in office who are willing to stand up and stand with the citizens. We pay their taxes. They work for us. We don't work for them. And they have to start understanding that, or they don't deserve our tax dollars. That's what it really boils down to, folks. We can sit around and complain. We can sit around and do videos. We can Facebook Live them all we want until we get in the ballot box with not only our votes, but our money. This is going to continue. I'm just saying.
Well, I think it continues if we don't identify the problem. And for me, I think the problem is training. You have to be.
See, you've been simplistic. I don't think it's training.
Well, there has to be something. Okay, so let's say it's not training. What would you say the problem is? Why do we keep having issues like this?
Well, here's the problem. To treat somebody with respect, that has nothing to do with training.
Well, we don't know that. Let me tell you why.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Let me tell you why. I say that, though. So, if you're being taught the whole time you're in training that people who live south of 630 or people who don't look like you are your enemy, then you get what you get with Director Richardson. You get what you get with other people in the black community because you're being pretty much brainwashed that black people bad, good people, white people good.
But that's a valid point.
Right.
But that brainwashing is subjected to your innate bias as a racist.
No. There are guys I've talked to who went through the police department who later quit who said that the police department made them a racist.
So
and they quit.
So what did you just say? They quit.
They quit. But hold on, Dave. My point to you is his situation was a little bit different than most. He had a law degree already. So he had something he could fall back on. Other guys, I don't think all the other guys have that. I don't know if the other guys have law degrees.
Valid point.
Period.
Valid point.
But my point is that when we start talking about this, I don't want people to think that this is some complicated issue because this issue is very simple.
No, it's not complicated.
It's not complicated, nor is it hard to figure out. The question becomes now, what are the police willing to do to make the citizens of Little Rock comfortable? That's the conversation we have to start having now. What are you willing to do to make us comfortable? Because currently, we're not comfortable with the LRPD being in our community.
Well, if they were willing to do anything, they would have already done that, in my opinion, based on what's happening, not just in this city, but around this country. That's why I'm saying it's not training. This is absolute power being corrupted. We are special. We get to do this because we're cops.
Right.
And we don't care what y'all think. That's what this is. This has nothing to do with training because you're seeing, you're seeing the same stuff all over the country.
Hold on, Dave. So, Dave, if you're saying that everybody on the police force is white is a racist, then Dave, we can't fix that.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Essentially, that's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm simply saying that police have a I'm better than you mentality because I'm a cop. Mm-hmm. I have authority to control you. That's why you find cops when they arrest someone, they try to pack in all kinds of charges so I can make your life miserable because I'm a cop. Mm-hmm. That's a mentality that needs to be addressed. Okay? If you had morals, because at the end of the day, no matter what job you do, you should have some type of moral fiber. Okay? And if you had morals, whether you black or white, because see, we see black cops do this too.
Right. I mean,
you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you had morals, then you would say, okay, let me do my job. If look, you don't have to arrest everybody who you think is resisting arrest because they won't leave.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a person acting because I'm a cop. I can do what I want. That same thing with Russ does over on 12th Street when those cops are blocking 13.
Yes.
Parking.
But that goes back to training.
No, but see, Robert, I hear what you say.
Because you got white officers and black officers repeating the same behavior.
Exactly.
If that's the case, Dave, you can't say that's.
But see, all the chief has to do,
training.
you know what? I worked in corporate America, okay? We got edicts that came down from Michael Dale. Mm-hmm. We knew when Michael Dale sent an email that says, don't do this or don't do that or do this or do that. We knew to follow the rules of Michael Dale.
Right.
If the police chief says, look, stop arresting people who are filming you, then you need to stop. And if you don't stop, you're going to be reprimanded. And if you do it again, you're going to be fired.
Right.
That's not training. That's just telling people what you need to be doing as an officer.
Understand that the police department works a little bit different in corporate America. And the reason I say that is this very reason. They have an FOP. They have a police union that protects them when they make mistakes like this, right? Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what they have. So if the chief says to them, hey, we need to do a better job of how we treat citizens, right? Then if they don't do that job, guess what happens? If they make a mistake, I mean, right now we have the FOP who are working feverishly to support Charles Starks, and Charles Starks was wrong. But because he's a union member, they have to defend him.
I understand.
All right. The same thing applies whenever you have officers out on the streets every day. Those officers know that if they make a mistake, they're going to be covered by their union. They don't worry about being covered by their police chief. They don't worry about being covered by assistant chiefs, their sergeants, their lieutenants, their captains. They don't worry about that because they know that the only job of the FOP, and any union for that matter, is to protect its members, which we all understand, right?
Therein lies the problem.
Well, to some degree.
Is the FOP the chief?
No, but again, let's go back though, Dave. Let's go back. The thing that's always important for me is to identify the things that you can actually change. And the thing that we can change is training. Now, let's say we address training and for whatever reason, we're still having these incidents because we will. Because again, you got 500 and some sworn officers on the Little Rock Police Force. It's not like all of them can go back retrain. But there has to be something as we move forward to address the issues that are currently within our police department. That's a discussion that I'm very open to having because we have to if we're going to really move forward.
855-525-5683 is the number. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. We've got to take the top of the hour break. We'll be back here in just a moment on joinnetradio.com.
Your back-to-school headquarters. All college students, fraternities, and sororities get a two-piece living room set for only $3.99, or take advantage of our four-piece living room special, which includes sofa, love seat, chair, and ottoman for only $5.99. Quantities are limited.
Who done it? The butler done it. But the Furniture Depot.
Or what about an extra thick queen-size mattress, full or queen size, for only $2.98, or an Ashley signature four-piece bedroom set for $4.99, or a five-piece dinette set for only $1.99. Huge selections and savings are going on at Butler Furniture Depot, your back-to-school headquarters.
Call 562-8333 for directions. Who done it? The Butler done it.
En Butler Furniture Depot hablamos español.
Who done it? The butler done it. Butler Furniture Depot.
Hi,
this is Alvin from Habib News 4317 East Broadway in North Little Rock. We still have the green top at your very next stop. The same great service, but more longer. Give us a call, 501-663-1553 or 664-2992, or call our toll-free number, 1-877-HABIBI1. Diapers, pull-ups, hospital beds, wheelchairs, Simply Fit, diabetic supplies, underpads, and more. Your durable medical supply center.
Hi, I'm attorney Director Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matters. Whether it's criminal defense,
The views and opinions expressed today.
or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Director Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
I'm so glad I found the Kick Above. It's like my very own personal training studio. A Kick Above removed the guesswork and intimidation and offered me a very secure and structured environment specific to my personal goals. Kim Levitt and her certified. Remind me before you leave, I need to ask you a question about somebody as well. Remind me before you leave, I need to ask you a question about somebody. Or go to akickabove.com. Now, what am I wearing tonight? Thanks to a Kick Above, I look marvelous.
Serving the families of Clark County and the surrounding area since 1966, it's Mitchell Funeral Home. Understanding that a funeral is a celebration of life, the entire staff of Mitchell Funeral Home takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional service they offer. Cremations, funeral plannings, burial policies, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are a few of the services we offer. Mitchell Funeral Home, Arkadelphia, 870-246-2611. Mitchell Funeral Home. Quality you can appreciate, service you can depend on.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas. All right, welcome back to the show, Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. If you'd like to join the show today, we're talking a lot about Little Rock and what's going on here in Little Rock proper. As I said earlier, Little Rock has all of a sudden, again, become ground zero for the civil rights struggle, and we're going to have to step up, folks. Unfortunately, I believe it's going to get worse before it gets better, because tyrants don't quickly relinquish their power. Let me say that again. Tyrants don't quickly relinquish their power. So we're going to have to get on the job. We're going to have to get fighting. Those of you who are planning to run for city board members next year, you need to start planting those seeds right now. We already know about Russ. We need to get behind Russ, okay? We need to get behind anyone who is going to be doing something positive for our community, because I've had enough of this craziness, man. I really have. One other quick note, and caller, we'll be with you here in just a moment. Something came across my wall this morning, and here it is. The 50 most miserable cities in the United States based on 2019 data. And for me, you know, we've done these before, right, and I always look, because Little Rock is always somewhere near the top 10. Little Rock wasn't even in the top 50. I was stunned. Okay?
They changed the requirements? What do they base it on?
But I will tell you that there is in Arkansas City.
Pine Bluff.
Yes.
Of course.
Pine Bluff. Okay. Now let's see. It says this is based on census data.
Okay, I'm really interested to see that.
Okay. Cities have things in common: fewer opportunities, devastation from natural disasters, high crime and addiction rates, and often many abandoned houses. The state with the most miserable cities, surprised me, was California with 10. New Jersey is close behind with 9, and Florida is third with 6. The most miserable city is Gary, Indiana.
I can see that.
So where do you think Pine Bluff shows up?
Probably number 4.
Have you seen this?
No.
They are actually, well, let me give you the top 5. Okay?
Okay.
And Flint, Michigan is in that area too, and I understand why, because of the water crisis.
Right.
But here's number 1, Gary, Indiana. Number 2, Port Arthur, Texas.
Okay.
Number 3 is Detroit. Number 4 is Passaic, New Jersey. Passaic, New Jersey, I should say. Number 5 is Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
And number 6 is Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Look at that.
Pine Bluff has 42,000 residents, and from 2010 to 2018, it lost nearly 14% of its population, the biggest loss on the list. 52% of the people are working, and 30% are living in poverty. People left as the state lost almost 33,000 manufacturing jobs from 2016 to 2017. In 2019, things deteriorated further when the Arkansas River flooded the city. That's Pine Bluff. Now, if you remember the piece we read yesterday about automation, or was it the day before yesterday, and how it's going to adversely affect black people, especially black men, this said that we lost 3,000 manufacturing jobs. I've been saying since I moved back to this city that the agrarian economy that Arkansas has is not set up for the future. And if we don't fix this fast, Arkansas is going to continue to be at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to these issues. Period. Let's go to the phones. Caller, you're on the air. What's your name? What you want to talk about? Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? You gone, girl. Yeah, Robert.
Agree with Dave?
Yeah, Robert.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, that's what you get.
No, the thing
She makes a
is,
good point, though.
To some degree, what you fail to realize is that we make the assumption that it has to be something other than training, right? Well, 2 things. What you often find with police departments is that they often violate the rights of the people who they are interacting with. Now, that's a training issue, because if you don't know what the citizens' rights are, then how can you properly enforce them? Training, right? And so these situations usually escalate because they have not been properly trained. Because again, last night, that was a situation that should have never happened. It was basic training. The thing which starts when he shot and killed Blackshear, basic training. He pulled the way he entered, the way he pulled up on his car. All those things are very basic training issues. Now, again, we can talk about accountability. Accountability does not change their training. You can hold a guy accountable, but if you haven't properly trained this guy, accountability means nothing, right? So the thing is, we have to take a step back. We have to look at the training because in every situation, we can identify at least 3 or 4 issues that happened that led up to this. Great example with Mr. Ellison. Mr. Ellison was in his own home. 2 off-duty police officers are walking by his door. His door is open on a December date, which is nice. It was nice in December of 2010 when this happened. They, just by simple observance, said his house looked in disarray. Did they knock on the door? No. They just entered his home without permission. Now people say that's just common sense. No. If you're a police officer, you think you are above the law. You need to be trained. Because listen,
you just said what I said.
Even after they got inside the house.
If you would think you are above the law, training ain't gonna matter.
Even after they entered the house, they still did not follow proper protocol.
I agree.
So again, Dave, we're going back to training. Because again, everybody, I understand what y'all are saying. And I'm not trying to negate your reality.
I don't care if you are, buddy. Okay. Buddy Rowe.
But my reality is based in fact, right?
My reality ain't based in fact? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm not saying that.
Are you trying to say, is that what you're trying to say?
I'm not saying that.
Are you attacking our caller, Kimberly?
Not attacking Kimberly, not attacking you either. My point is that if you go through and you look at all the incident reports that citizens have filed about the police department, what you realize is that the police have made crucial mistakes, and those things were training. These things escalate because of their lack of training. That's my personal opinion based on the information I've seen.
Lack of experience, so that's another thing. But thank you. I'm going to listen to y'all and get off the phone.
All right, Kimberly, thanks for calling.
Right,
Appreciate you calling. Here's why I disagree with you, Robert.
Okay.
Because in the case of...
Okay, but hold on. Before you do that, if y'all disagree with me, tell me then how do we fix it?
Okay, I will tell you that.
Okay.
Oh, but here's why I disagree with you. Because some things are given, okay? Some things are like fundamental rights. We all basically know what that is. We may not know it from an attorney's point of view, but we all know we have free speech in America. And based on all of the incidents that have taken place as it relates to filming cops, over and over again, it has been highlighted that American citizens have the right to film police officers. American citizens have the right to observe police activity, okay? That's basic fundamentals. That's not something that needs to be in training. You shouldn't have to train people because they know that going in. What I found with police officers is what you just said, is that they believe that they are above the law. That's what they believe. So because when you believe that it doesn't apply to you, then you do things that are not, and let me give you a simplistic approach. When I was covering the Tennessee Titans, I was considered a journalist there. I got certain credentials. Okay? There were places that I could go in that stadium that regular Joe Blow couldn't go. Okay? I had a parking spot where I could show up 15 minutes before the game, flash my badge, and be guided to my parking spot. Okay? I took liberties because I had those credentials. All right? And that may sound simplistic, but I get your point. Cops do the same thing. They believe, just like when I was at the Chick-fil-A in North Little Rock a few months ago, and there we were standing in line waiting for our food, and a lady was in front of me waiting for a refill, And the cop, who was a North Little Rock cop, he didn't want to stand in line. He decided to go behind the counter and say, hey, I'll just get my own refill. And the white lady in front of me looked back at me and said, well, I'll be damned, under her breath. I could hear. I knew exactly what she was thinking.
Right. But again, Dave, we have to identify why this mentality exists.
It exists.
The only way we can identify that is to go through their training.
Well, here's why I disagree with that.
Hold on, Dave. We're making these assumptions that police officers are acting this way because they're racist. We're making a bunch of
no. It's more than just racism. It's privilege.
Okay.
Because the black cops do it the same as the white cops do.
Well, if it's privilege, then guess what? We need to go to this training to find out what in this training makes these guys feel that they're invincible and they can do anything they want to do to anybody at any time. But it's important we go through that training.
I agree with that. But see, it's not even in, I don't think it will be contained in the training. Here's why. Because jurors, when cops run afoul, let them off. We've seen that over and over and over again. When there is unequivocal evidence of wrongdoing by police officers, they typically get acquitted. And in some cases, they never even go to trial. Here's how you fix that problem. Okay? Every job that I know of has a code of conduct.
Okay.
I would hope that the police department has that as well. When you violate those codes of conduct, you are subject to termination or termination.
Right.
Okay? When you violate the rights of citizens, which should be tantamount to any union, any training, when you violate the rights of citizens, you should be subject to termination. Now, what will that do? That will, if cops know that, hey, I need to be up on the rights of citizens, then guess what? If I'm going to be a cop, I'm going to study that. I'm going to make sure that I don't want to lose my... Let me finish.
Okay.
I'm going to make sure that I don't lose my job over violating the First Amendment. Okay? So when cops start losing their job, and more importantly, when they start going to jail, this will stop. Give you another example. The incident that took place with the young lady in Brinkley.
Okay.
The cop who put his knee in her back where she couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
What you all don't know is that cop was at one point the chief of police in Cotton Plant, another city. So the other aspect to that is this. When you lose your licensing to be a cop, when you know you can do that, then you'll stop violating these citizens' rights.
Well, that's a great point, and that should be that we should investigate that further. But I think the thing we have to remember is that when police commit these acts, we're moving further down the trough than I care to move right now. I want to stay at what we can tangibly address and how we can see some positive change. Right? How do we see positive change? We address the training of the Little Rock police officers. That's tangible change that we can address, that we can see. When you start talking about all these other things, I'm not saying that they're not important, but what I'm saying is there's no way that we can possibly address them in a way that is, in my opinion, sensible and practical. Right? There's no way we can address it practically, because we can address training practically. We can get a group of people to go through the police training. We demanded, hey, we want you to take 20 people through the police training. We want to see how this training works. We want to see what you're training on, how you're training officers.
But Robert, if you have no morals, if you have
hold on, Dave. Hold on. See, this is the problem I have. If you're telling me that somebody has no morals, what kind of moral test do you do to justify whether someone should be a police officer or not? What's the moral test?
Well, typically, you don't have a test. But listen to my point, though.
Because you're making comments that I can't justly defend.
But
right. The reason I can't justly defend them is because you're saying that, okay, it's somebody's moral character. Well, okay. Do you have a test to address?
No, but that moral character will begin to rear its ugly head. When you have no morals, I don't care what type of training you have, it's not going to matter. Okay, it's the same as these police departments who are now discovering that they have KKK members. It's the same as that cop that was in Florida that was planting drugs on suspects. He had no morals. He went through training until he accidentally left his body camera on that showed he was planting drugs. Right. He had people lose their children, people that lost their jobs. When you have no morals, training isn't going to matter. That's why I'm saying that when those types of people are ferreted out and discovered.
But Dave, how do you ferret? You again. I don't disagree with you at all, right? I think everything you said is perfectly fair, okay? But Dave, there's no way we can do that next week.
I agree. I agree.
My thing to you is, as an advocate, I want to address the things that I can attack next week. Mm-hmm. I can attack that next week. I can't.
What did you just say?
I can address.
No. What did you just say? I can't let that go. As a who?
No.
As a who?
I can address the training.
I will not let you go forward until you repeat.
We can address the training.
What do you mean we? We as a
community.
We as
a community, we can address the training.
What's that A word?
That's something that's tangible.
What's that A word you said? What's that A word? Advocate. I, as an advocate, did you just say that, Robert Webb? Yes, you did. See, I told you it's still in you.
You know, everybody keeps wanting to say accountability. So, okay, if you want accountability, let me explain to you the way this whole process works. So, if a police officer violates somebody's rights, then they do an investigation. That investigation is then turned over to the prosecutor. The prosecutor, who constantly work hand in hand with the police department, they decide if they're going to take the case to court. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Screw your accountability, because there's no accountability, because the prosecutors decide whether there's a case or not.
Yeah.
So, I think in the Amber Geiger case, that thing only went to trial, and this is my honest opinion, it only went to trial because of all the outrage now around black officers, police officers killing unarmed black men. That's the only reason that even.
I don't think that's why it went to trial.
I believe so.
Here's why I think it went to trial. I think it went to trial because you could not justify her going into that house and shooting that man in his own house.
Okay, that's fair.
Had he been on the street, it would have never went to trial.
Russ, go away, man. I never saw us coming out of retirement.
Yeah. You heard him, didn't you, Russ? He said, "I, as an advocate." Yes, he did. But no, that's the only reason that went to trial. My thing is simply this. I mean, you had friends. You knew people that you thought were your friends, and you began to realize that, this brother, something wrong with him. His moral character is not what I.
But Dave,
no. Let me finish.
Dave, how can you address the moral character of a police officer who's already on the force?
You can't address it in the upfront.
Okay, you know what? I realize that what I'm doing now is that I'm not being as deliberate as I should be in this conversation. So let me be more deliberate.
Okay.
If you address the training, and again, we have 500 and some sworn officers. Mm-hmm. If we address the training and we require that they all be retrained, all 500 and some officers be retrained, then yes, after they've been retrained, then we change the requirements for how they go about their duties, right? So if these guys are still making these same mistakes, then we have to put some measures in place beforehand that says, hey, okay, you don't get the benefit of the doubt now. If you violate somebody's rights, there's a reprimand. We have to be deliberate about how this moves forward. We cannot allow the FOP to dictate what the consequences are for an officer if he violates somebody's civil rights.
So you're saying what I said earlier.
If he kills someone.
It should not be up to the FOP to determine whether an officer remains on the job when he violates a right of a citizen. If the FOP was legitimate, they would be just as concerned about bad officers.
We agree. But Dave, hold on, Dave. We have to understand what the job of the FOP is.
I know what it is. I know.
Their job is They don't have any other job but to protect their members.
They're a temple of any unit.
Other unit.
Right.
Their job is to protect their members. So the conversation we're having, while I understand your point, I think to some degree, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to argue the point because police officers continue to make mistakes, and they know that if they do make a mistake, that they have the FOP to fall back on. Right.
Therein lies one of the problems.
Therein lies one of the problems. But hold on. In December 31st of 2019, the current contract the FOP has with the city of Little Rock expires. And they started negotiating a new contract after Labor Day. So it's important for all citizens to understand what that contract is, what's inside that contract, and what they get for that contract. And it's important that we place our own demands inside that contract.
So how do we know what they're negotiating right now? How do we get it?
We don't know right now what they're negotiating.
So who's doing this negotiation?
More than likely, the city has a team. And it's probably the mayor, the city manager, and some other people that they designate.
All right. So we need to make sure, at least talk to those people who are doing the negotiating to say what the citizens want. But I want to stick on this moral thing for a moment.
Well, Dave, it's hard for me to stay on
no. Just listen to me for a moment.
I have no control.
You really don't.
You control anything.
But would you agree? Would you agree that a person's character will manifest itself in their actions in most cases?
Let me say this, man.
No, don't give me no political answer.
No, it's not political. I think it's important that I say this. I remember when I first started being an advocate. And
being a what?
Being an advocate. When I first started.
You still an advocate?
No, I'm retired. But when I first started being an advocate, Russ is talking about I'm not. But when I first started being an advocate, by being in some of the situations you're in, you sometimes become overly confident, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because all of a sudden now you're in certain rooms, you're having certain conversations.
You're empowered.
You're empowered, yeah. Mm-hmm. But when people say power is intoxicating, that is very true.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it is.
And if you don't check yourself, then you can get beside yourself.
Yeah, you can get the big head.
Right. And so to some degree, I found myself doing that when I started mentioning me. I did. I was, right? You can't be a community advocate and use the vowel I, right?
The pronoun I.
The vowel I. If you want to be a pronoun, make it a pronoun too.
I is actually a word, but it's a pronoun.
Okay, the pronoun I, the pronoun vowel, whichever one you like. But my point is,
Miss Tyler would really get on you about that.
You can't be an advocate and do that. And I understand how intoxicating power is. Also, these police officers also have power, right? And the most important thing about going through this training is because it gives an opportunity to identify if these guys are being empowered through the training. Because that's important. We have to go through the training. That is not an option. That is not something that we're gonna acquiesce to. We have to go through the training. That is a done deal. There is no other conversation about that. We have to go through the training.
I totally agree with that. But here's what I'm saying. That if I'm a bad egg, I don't give a damn how much training I get.
How do you identify bad eggs, though?
You can certainly identify them by watching their work. Okay? Here's the thing.
No, I'm not telling you stop.
If I am a KKK member, which many of these police departments around the country do have them, my whole goal is to go in there and wreak havoc on the black community. Okay? I don't give a damn how much training you give me.
Well,
let me finish.
Okay.
My moral character is that I'm a KKK member, I'm a racist, and I want to make sure that every black person that I encounter falls under my thumb. You remember that video that you got so upset about that officer raping that girl? Remember that? That's moral character, brother. That's not something
that's empowerment.
No, it's
that's feeling empowered.
It's empowerment, but again, we all have some sense of empowerment. How we use that power dictates our morality. We see that every day with this president.
How do you feel?
Okay?
What is your feel for that?
So let me finish my point, okay? Because you were trying to put Republican me here
I'm not trying
by
to
trying to get me off a point.
Okay, my bad.
My moral character is more important than anything else. How people view me and how I view myself is who I am, okay? More so how I view myself, okay?
Okay.
If I have no moral character, then it doesn't matter what type of training that I get. Give you a classic example. The Catholic Church.
But how do you...
Let me finish.
Dave, you keep making examples.
Let me finish.
Okay.
The Catholic Church and the rape of all of those people.
Okay.
They had what you would call training. They had no moral fiber. Okay? And because they were in...
How do you fix
I'm getting to that.
You're not getting to it.
I
You
am.
still give an example.
I'm getting to that.
Right,
If you quit rudely interrupting me.
Go ahead, I'm stop. Okay.
God.
Okay.
The training that they had didn't affect their moral character. What affected their moral character is that Father John was doing it. Father Bob was doing it. We all doing it. So let's keep doing it until they were exposed by the light. So what I'm saying to you is that if we're not willing to expose cops for their lack of morality, how they treat people, how you judge someone, how you simply treat a citizen, yes ma'am, no ma'am. I can understand you get in tough situations where you gotta be a cop, but most of these cops, based on their privilege, because you determine your privilege based...
Are you going to ever tell me how we fix it?
I'm getting there.
Oh, Jesus.
You determine your privilege based on your morality, how you deal with that privilege. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So how do you address it? You've been asking that question. Mm-hmm. You address it by setting a standard in your department. By, this is what we live by. This is what I expect from you. It's kind of like a football coach. I expect you to go to class. I expect for you not to be participating, disrupting class. I expect for you to get your grades, yada, yada, yada. If you do not do that, then you are going to be subject to penalty or kicked off the team. That's how you address it. You have to set the standard from the top. A fish rot from the head down. If the top is not setting that moral standard and then acting upon it, so when that cop, maybe it goes into that jacket that they violated a civil right. See, you've got to punish that guy accordingly. You see what I'm saying? And then what'll happen is that other people around him will say, man, he did this. This is what happened. They're not going to be that quick to do that.
Dave,
that's how you set that standard.
Dave, you make the assumption that those standards are already not in place.
They're not in place.
They are.
Okay, well, if they were in place, then we would see the punishment that affects that. If they were in place, then we wouldn't continually see police violating the rights of a city director.
Dave, the police's punishment is dictated or carried out by the FOP. The FOP determines how people are punished because that's part
so you're letting Satan judge the punishment of his minions. Okay. Is that what you're saying?
Hold on, Dave. My point to you is that the FOP has been given the power to set the standards for what punishment is of the officers involved.
Well, therein lies the problem.
Well, no. Nobody's ever had an issue with it up until now.
We've always had issues with it. No one has just really started talking.
Have you ever heard anybody have a conversation like we're having right now?
Of course not. That's what I'm saying. No one has ever addressed it.
No one's ever addressed it, but also, if we want the conversation to continue, the conversation has to be, we have to address the things that we know we can change. First off, that being the training of our police officers. We know that we can identify that. That's the first thing. Secondly, residency requirements. Residency requirements, I feel, are very important, and I think they become even more so important after what happened to Ken last week. Director Richardson, it becomes even more important that residency requirements are put in place. Thirdly, we don't need to allow the FOP to do whatever they feel they want to do. there has to be some kind of repercussions. And I think I think the great thing about the Citizens Review Board is that they should also be included in rewriting the policies for current police officers.
Are they included?
I don't know.
We don't even have the board yet. So if we are in negotiations with the FOP right now, then the Citizens Review Board is not going to be part of that negotiation for rewriting those policies.
Well, again, we don't even know what's inside the current contract.
I agree,
So
but
how could we even have an intelligent conversation about what shouldn't be in the contract?
but the Citizens Review Board would know.
The things I'm talking about have already been negotiated. Far as if you shoot an unarmed officer, if you shoot an unarmed person, if you're in a shooting, the union has advocated that the officer gets paid leave. Then those things we should change. Excuse me.
That's all over the country.
Well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because it's all over the country. We don't have to do it. It's a lot of things that are all over the country that Lil Ron doesn't do. So why should we acquiesce at this point?
So who's going to have that negotiating power to get that out?
I think that we should. I think that we should advocate on behalf of them.
Okay. I agree what you're saying and I understand what you're saying, but again, it goes to me. It goes back.
But I can't address. There's nothing I can do with morals.
Did you ever see the video?
I can't address a man's moral.
Did you ever see the video of the cops who went on the scene, and I forgot what city this was, and the man was dead, and the police officer decided to take a smiling picture with that dead person?
No.
See,
that has nothing to do with morals.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Stupidity.
But again, it does have to do with morals.
That's stupidity.
You can call it stupidity, but the underlying problem is your morality. Here's a man that's dead, and you thought that you would take a selfie with him.
Yeah,
that's
just ignorant.
You can call it ignorance, or to me, it's morals. Because at the end of the day, if you respect humanity, then you would not have done that. You know, that's what I'm saying.
That's simple ignorance.
But it may be, but again, simple ignorance or whatever the case may be. Now, fortunately, that particular cop was reprimanded, and I think he ultimately resigned. Okay? But that's what I'm saying, is that we have to start looking for people who police our communities, not just here in Little Rock, but across this nation, who has some type of moral fiber. And you know why that's important? Because as Rizal said this morning, there were two white cops beating up a black lady, and there was a black cop, a black female cop, standing there watching. If that black female cop had any morals whatsoever, then she would report them. But it is baked into cops' mentalities that we're in this together. Protect me at all costs. That's why it's important to go out and read that piece from the Chicago Sun-Times about the Laquan McDonald murder. When I saw that and read it, it epitomizes the mentality of cops. Whereas that we're going to defend our brethren regardless of the egregious acts that they commit. That is morality. Okay. Joinette 1, 2, 3. Joinette 1, 2, 3. That's morality. That's what I'm saying. At some point, regardless of the law, there are certain things that you don't do. There are certain things that I don't do. There are certain things that you've taught your son about morals. Son, we just don't. That's not right. We just don't do that. Willie Davis, when he turned in Josh, the guy about the racist post, that's the type of cop I want. Willie Davis, who sees something that says, "Hey, brother, that's not right. I'm turning you in." But instead of them applauding Officer Willie Davis, what did the police department do?
Yeah, they found someone the other.
They went after him.
But that's common, Dave. That's common.
That's what I'm talking about, Robert. That's how you can judge what is right and just. It starts with morals.
But Dave, you keep talking about morals. Give me a way to measure a guy's moral fiber, moral character.
There is no way to measure it.
So, why are we having a conversation?
But here's how you can judge someone's moral character.
Okay.
You can simply judge them by their actions.
After they've done something, you judge them.
That may be the only way, but here's the thing: you don't give them an opportunity to do it again.
I understand.
You see what I'm saying?
I understand that.
There's, like I said, there's no way that police departments can determine who's in the KKK or not. Okay, it's like those people in Ohio who bought the house of a former police officer, and discovered that he had applications in that he had forgotten about.
Yeah.
For the KKK.
Yeah.
He had been on that particular police force for decades. Okay.
Yeah. But
so you can't. There's no test that you can go to and say your morals are bad. But again, morals are one thing that will manifest itself in your action.
I can't. There is no way that we can properly identify who has moral fiber just by looking at them. There's no
I
way
agree.
to properly identify that.
I agree.
What I'm talking about is
But will those morals manifest themselves in their actions?
I'm talking about tangible solutions, as in identifying training issues, identifying problems in the training, identifying issues wherever they may be within the police department and addressing those.
Okay, so let's say we go through all of that. What you're saying? Let's say we go through all that training.
Hold on one second. The thing you're talking about the morals thing, I get that, right? I get what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I disagree with you. I'm just saying it's impossible to identify and adequately fix it. Now, we can adequately address and fix the training because, Dave, again, there has to be a problem in your training when you keep having these problems. And the problems that we're talking about is unarmed black men being attacked by the police for doing nothing. There must be something in their training that makes them feel as though black men and black people in general are their enemy. The only way we find out what that is that we address the training. We actually go through the training and see how we feel coming out on the other side. That's one way, Dave. That's the only way.
I agree with all of that.
Because you can talk about moral character.
I agree with all of that.
You get guys who get hired by the police department who then commit crimes.
I agree with that.
Right?
That's a moral failing, right?
If you
yes,
say so,
it is.
I say a guy makes a mistake. I don't want to say that everybody's
but see,
screwed up.
The police don't have the option to make mistakes because
they're human. They're gonna make mistakes.
Okay, I agree.
We're all human. We're gonna make mistakes.
But some mistakes can be avoided.
But that goes back to the training, Dave.
Okay, but let me finish. Let me finish.
Bring Mr. Ellison back. I'm sure we could.
Let me say this. Let's say we do all what you're saying, all of that training and all that other stuff. Okay, what happens when?
Thank you, Margot.
You having a show by yourself over there?
No.
Oh, okay. What happens if once we go through all of that stuff you're saying, and the same things continue to happen?
Well, there's a plethora of things that we do, not just one. There is not one fix to our problem.
No, it isn't.
There's not one fix, but we know for sure that every Little Rock police officer has went through the training. Mm-hmm. We know that, right? Okay. Well, if we know that, then let's address that because that is the only thing now that we can tangibly put our hands on that says, okay, we have a problem in our city. It's putting our hands on what the police are doing. That's the only thing we have right now that we can tangibly put our hands on.
I agree with that. But again,
everything else, I mean, the stuff you're talking about, good stuff. We can't put our hands on it.
Well, you can't put your hands on it, but you can certainly identify it over time.
Over time, Dave.
Okay, so you spend all that money, you go through the training that you suggest.
So, Dave.
Okay, no, let me finish. Okay. You go through the training you suggest.
Don't be long-winded, okay?
Me being long-winded.
I'm short, Dave.
Come on.
Jesus.
You go through the training that you suggest.
Okay.
And then what happens when that officer you begin to realize that officer just stole some money from a suspect? That's morals, brother. If we begin to set the standard, it's like you raise your kids. You set a standard in your house that you're a web. Yeah. This is how we do stuff. I did it with my kids. You're a Coleman. This is the standard by which we abide by. If you fall short of that standard, you will be chastised or punished, depending on the degree of your failing.
I'm there.
That's all I'm saying, is that once you go through all of that training, at some point, a person's character will rear its ugly head. And what we're seeing in these shootings, in my opinion, this is my only humble opinion, that what we're seeing in these shootings of only black men and black women across this country, that's a moral failing. It has nothing to do with training. Because if you say it does, why aren't you shooting white people? Why aren't you shooting white people who shoot up schools and shoot up churches and shoot up movie theaters? That's a moral failing, that you can look at a black person and say, he's not good enough. Look, you send a black man to jail for killing a dog, you send him to jail for 45 years. You send a white woman to jail for killing a black man for 10 years. Right. That's a moral failing, my brother. Period.
Dave, again, I don't disagree. But the point is, bruh, there's no way you can address somebody's moral character until they do something, right?
And then you need to hit them with an anvil.
Can I go down?
Sure, I'm sorry.
There's no way you can address someone's moral character until they do something.
Right.
All right. The training, we can go through the training and identify the problems in the training. We can do that as citizens. We can go through that training, we can identify the issues in their training, right? Because again, Dave, all these issues escalate based on training, right? I know what my rights are, you don't know what my rights are, so therefore you violate my rights, which in turn escalates.
Let me ask you a quick question. I understand what you're saying. We need to get Ryan in here in a moment before the show runs out. So why is it, if there's a problem with training, why is it that black cops don't shoot white suspects?
That's a good question, Margo. Margo was talking about why when black shit got shot, why didn't the white girl get shot? Good. Why didn't she get any charges?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, again,
she makes my point.
That's a good point.
But
hold on.
But the other one is, why is it that black cops, you rarely see black cops shoot and kill white suspects?
So,
you rarely hear black cops say, I thought that white guy had a gun, so I shot and killed him. If it was an issue in training, wouldn't that affect black cops the same as it affected white cops?
Well, have you seen their interactions with black cops? Are no different than the interactions with white cops south of 630 and when they're dealing with black people, right? So, therefore, there has to be a problem in their training day. Now,
but they're not black cops are not shooting white people. If there's
hold on, Dave. The argument has been made that black people are shot more than white folks. Unfortunately, I can't give you the number on that one. I can't say if it's true or not. But what I can tell you is that in Little Rock, I know for a fact that black people file more police reports or file more reports with internal affairs than white people do. Now, Dave, you can't tell me that that's race. I have to believe that's training because you have black officers that they file complaints against just like white officers. If you look at what happened with Russ, that was a black officer talking crazy to Russ and he was a white officer.
I understand all of that. But again, why is it, if it's training, that black cops aren't shooting white suspects? As a matter of
but again, hold on.
As a matter of fact,
hold on. You asked me a question. Let me give it to you. So if we go through what if we go through that training and we find out that training is racially biased against blacks and Hispanics?
Hold on. You're missing my point here.
No, I'm not.
You're missing my point.
You asked me a very deliberate question. Okay. I'm going to give you a very deliberate answer. Mm-hmm. What if we go through that training and we identify that in their training is racially biased toward blacks and Latinos? Okay. Right? So if we go through the training and find that out, then it explains why they're shooting black and brown, or black men in particular. Why the police officers are shooting black men.
When was the last time you heard a black cop shooting a black suspect?
McDaniels did it here about 5 years ago.
About 5 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Over the nation, since this has been going on, how, off the top of your head?
When black officers shoot black men, it's not as publicized when white officers shoot black men.
I disagree. It is.
McDaniel, who shot and killed 2 black men since he's been on the force. I think it was 2. Could be wrong. Might have been 1 black and 1 white. But he shot 2 people while he has been on the force, and there has been no conversation about that.
But you have to agree with me that you rarely hear of black officers shooting suspects.
There's not a lot of conversation about it, no.
Okay, so
because it doesn't play as well as when a white officer shoots a black man.
you rarely hear it.
But it's the politics of it.
Okay, it's police regardless. Okay, you rarely hear that. What you hear is white police officers shooting black suspects. You rarely hear black officers shooting white suspects. As a matter of fact, the cop that is spending life in prison right now in Louisiana for chasing and shooting at a white suspect, he's doing life.
Right.
Okay, the cop in Minnesota who killed a white woman, he's doing life.
All right.
Okay, so my point being is that this problem is systematic, mainly of white police officers. Period. I'm sorry, those are just the facts. So and those cops are going through the same training as white. Would you agree?
Okay.
Do black cops go through the same training as white cops?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. So again, why aren't we seeing black cops doing similar things as some of these white cops?
Again, I have to use this very ugly word, but I'm going to use it. As an advocate, you have to identify the things that you can change, right?
You didn't answer the question.
I'm about to. As an advocate, you have to identify the things you can change. I would be a fool to sit there and say, they morally corrupt. And when they ask me how to fix it, I can't tell them how to fix it.
You're missing the point.
No,
I understand what you're saying.
But hold on, Dave. Let me give you more. The training we can identify. We identify there's a problem with the training. We also can identify there's a problem with the prosecutors not pressing charges on police when they break the law.
I agree.
Those are two things we can identify and we can address, right?
But again, Robert, you didn't answer the question.
Okay.
If there is a problem with the training, which I think it is, why aren't black cops doing the same things that white cops are doing?
I can't answer that question, Dave.
That's why I don't.
I can't answer the question.
That's why that doesn't hold water for me. That's what I'm saying. That's where the morality comes in. That black cop knows that if I shoot and kill this suspect, I'm going to suffer more than the white cop does.
If the training is racially biased towards blacks, then no, you wouldn't have black officers shooting white people, or you wouldn't have white people shooting white people. You would have officers shooting black people because the training is racially biased.
Would you have black officers systematically doing
the same thing?
But again, you gave me one case in 5 years.
I gave you a case in Little Rock.
Okay.
I gave you a case in Little Rock.
Okay.
There have been other shootings.
I'm sure there has.
Black officers on black people. That is not like some kind of. That is not like a phenomenon.
I'm sure there has.
It happens.
I'm just simply saying.
But again, it's not as publicized as when the white officers do it. Because when white officers do it, it takes on a totally different meaning.
No, right? I think it's publicized on both because the police system is against blacks, whether it's a black cop or a white cop. That doesn't matter. I'm just simply saying that over the years that we've been following this, you rarely, in fact, I can't think of a case where it was a black cop who shot and killed a white suspect. I can't think of a case where it was a black cop who even shot and killed a black suspect. Now, I'm sure it has happened. I'm sure it has happened. But I'm simply saying that this same pattern keeps repeating itself. And that's what my concern is. That's where training, and they go through the same training. We can review the training. We can update it all we want. If a person has it in its heart that I am in control, I'm going to control and dominate you, it don't matter what type of training you have.
But Dave, to identify what the problem is, you have to go through all the things that are actionable. First off, the training, actionable. The relationship between the police and the prosecutors, actionable. The contract or the rules by which the police are governed, actionable. Those three things are actionable. And if we address those three things, we get right to what you're talking about. We have to determine what the criteria is when these officers do things in our community. We can no longer allow the FOP to determine what those are, because that's what has happened. The FOP and the IFOP, the national FOP, they have identified what the issue should be, and we have just acquiesced to them. We can no longer do that, because if we really want to have a top flight police department, we have to get our hands dirty. And by getting our hands dirty, we have to identify how they're being trained. We have to identify the relationship between the police and the prosecutor's office. And we have to identify the process by which, or the rules by which they're governed. We have to check, we have to get into that.
I think
we
we're
don't
saying
have a choice.
we're saying the same things. We're just trying to attack it from a different aspect. Because I agree with you, and I'm sure you agree with me. And if you don't come back to the show. Ryan Webb will be my new co-host. Ryan, we've been sitting up here running our mouth. You got something to say before we get out of here?
Just one thing. Robert Webb is an amazing person.
Don't say that
That's
because
funny.
he's feeding you.
That's funny.
Okay, don't say that because he's feeding you.
That's funny. That's funny.
But anyway, good show, good conversation. These are the conversations we've got to start having, you know, and we've got to, you know, we've got to start bearing our souls to the people that matter, and it really begins, as you say, the FOP and all of those people. We've got to look. The only way we're gonna really get involved in this is we've got to get to the ballot box, folks. We've got to start putting people in office that's going to reflect what we want, including those DAs and prosecuting attorneys. Okay, we've got to get to those people. Larry Jegley, there's no way that he should be a judge. There's no way that he should be a prosecuting attorney. Okay,
But he is.
but he is, because guess what? We don't show up at the polls.
Before we go out, I have one more thing to say. If I ever do get killed, quite contrary to what you guys said, I want you to hug and forgive my murderer.
You know what? I'll wait till you're 24 and I'll ask you this question again. You haven't, I don't think you, I'll wait till you go off to college and then I'll ask you this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, where are you going to school? You decided yet?
I actually recently got a letter from Belmont University.
Belmont, Nashville. Great school. Great school. A lot of my friends. Rick Bird, the head basketball coach. I know you're not basketball, but great guy, great character. So I know a lot of people over at Belmont. Okay? So I'm not going to give you a reference, though. But anyway, we've got to get out of here, folks. Good show. I appreciate you all listening, and certainly we appreciate your input. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, if you want to buy a house, if you want to figure out how to buy a house, we've got Keisha Cobb that's going to be in with us tomorrow, and she's going to give you some dope details of how you can get into that dream house or just get into a house. See y'all later. Robert?
Hey, spend your money in your own community. If you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
Just remember, a voteless people is a voiceless people. A voiceless people is a defenseless people.
Peace.
And a defenseless people is a contradiction to democracy. Y'all have a great day.
Why you voting?
You've been listening to Black Focus. Our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on JoinUpRadio.com.
Come on. Tickets for the fair. What's your name? Okay, hang on just a minute, Miss Evans. I think I saw those back on his desk.